Our lead story of the day is regarding yesterday's White House press briefing, where reporters push back and call out Karine Jean-Pierre and her hypocrisy. Folks, you're going to love this one. Support an American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. If you don't know what to write, tell us who you plan on voting for in 2024. Is it going to be Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence? Heck, let us know in the comment section below. We look forward to reading your responses. With that being said, the first reporter we got geared up here for y'all is the man, the myth, the legend. Yes, folks, the gladiator, Peter Doocy of Fox News, questioning Karine Jean-Pierre on the president's thoughts and the White House's thoughts on this Trump indictment. Let's see her response.
Okay. All right. Oh, go ahead, Peter.
To follow up on that, President Biden is a lawyer. Is he
And
concerned?
the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief, but go ahead.
He is, but as a lawyer, is he concerned at all that a local DA indicting a former president could, down the line, open up the possibility, set the precedent, that local DAs that don't like former President Biden could indict him?
I'm not.
Simple answer is yes. That's literally what everybody is talking about here, on how this door has been swung right open and is never going to be closed again. This has never happened in American history. It's going to happen and continue to happen now. And Lord only knows what type of baggage Joe Biden has. Nobody's really looked under the hood for Joe Biden. But I'll tell you what, it's going to happen now. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that's been jam-packed in that bad boy. Oh boy, can I not wait. But let's let him continue here.
Comment from here.
Why don't you have more to say about the Trump indictment?
It is an ongoing case, and I've been very clear about that. We've been prudent about that, not commenting on ongoing cases, and we're going to stick to that.
But for
Peter?
better or worse, all that anybody in the country is talking about at this exact moment while we're in here is Trump. And they look here to find out what the White House thinks about it. And
Well, I think the American people should feel reassured that when there is an ongoing case like this one, that we're just not commenting.
And so, does the lack of comment mean that you do not think anything happening in New York today is one of the top issues facing the country at the moment?
That's your assessment. That's not my assessment. I'm just laying out the facts that we are just not going to comment on an ongoing case from here. And we've been very consistent. We've been very prudent, and we're going to stick there.
So this happened again at 28 minutes into the press briefing, folks. And she's like, well, we've been clear. We've been prudent. We've been doing this the entire time, not commenting on investigations. Well, a reporter here picks up on that real quick and basically calls her out going, well, you had a lot to say about January 6th, and there was an ongoing investigation about that. There's always ongoing investigations happening, and you're just commenting left and right about everything else. Why not this? Folks, watch this exchange. This is reality TV. This is drama here for you. Let's roll it.
As a state.
The president has spoken repeatedly about January 6th. He gave at least two major speeches that I can think of, and he's talked at length in various forums. There were more than 500 active legal cases going on during the time that he made those speeches, all of which potentially could have been affected, would have been affected by whatever his opinions were on the circumstances surrounding those cases. What is different between his being willing to talk about not the specifics of individual cases, but to talk about the issues presented by what happened on January 6th and questions about, just to put a fine point on it, I'm sort of going on Peter's point, it's like, and frankly, a lot of the questions here, there's an understanding about not wanting to comment specifically about this case, perhaps, but there are issues that are presented. People have been talking about them for weeks now, when a former president, any former president, would be indicted for the first time and arrested for the first time. What is the White House's reticence, and what's the difference between that and this?
What a good question, folks. This gets me hyped. I'm telling you, I watch every single one of these, and when a good question comes our way, we got to display it. And damn, give this guy kudos. I wish I knew his name. I knew it at one point. I forget people's names. Forgive me, folks, but heck, how do you think she's going to respond here? Because we've seen this time and time again, most recently probably not just with the Twitter files, I mean, the classified documents that were basically found everywhere around Joe Biden's home and in his garage and all these other places. But we also saw it with these surveillance balloons that were shot out of the sky where they couldn't comment on anything remotely about surveillance or remotely anything about classified documents. If you said the word documents, she couldn't comment on about it. So he's bringing up a good point here of you were willy-nilly just talking about stuff about January 6th and hounding Republicans for all this stuff. And there's about 500 other cases that what you said could have affected. So why are you not just spilling the beans on this or even talking remotely about it? Let's see her response, folks.
Done.
I'm done. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But with all seriousness, January 6th was a devastating day. Like, you guys, I think if you guys weren't there, some of your colleagues were on Capitol Hill. We had law enforcement, police officers who were attacked, who died. And what we saw on that day was an attack on our democracy. It was a devastating, devastating day in our history. And it was a moment for this president to have spoken to, right? You had millions and millions of Americans who watched what was happening on Capitol Hill, something that many of us, I've never seen it, and many of us had never, ever seen before, you know? And it was something that needed to be spoken to. When you see something like
What the hell is she talking about, folks? If you're a frequent viewer of the Bald Brad Show, I was just looking for the answer. That's literally all we ever do. But she's going to sit here and still spew the same garbage that Democrats have been spewing about January 6th, which has already been debunked. Look, we already saw the footage, people walking around, taking selfies, being chauffeured around as like a VIP tour around the Capitol. It's a threat to democracy. You'll see her mention people died that day. People died that day. Still basically like pushing the whole narrative. By the way, the false narrative, speaking of misinformation, disinformation that she always talks about, people die on Capitol Hill, which they didn't die on Capitol Hill. You had one person that got shot, but she's going to make it seem like it was a pandemic, like an epidemic going on there. Everybody's getting shot. Everybody's getting destroyed. Just it was a threat to democracy. Our government was being overthrown. It's so asinine. You got to love the point and the fact that she never ever talks about what Democrats are doing, which is basically the exact same thing, of them basically storming the Tennessee Capitol. And I think they even stormed the Capitol to Kentucky and like 2 other states as well. But she's not going to bring up the historical facts of actually people storming the Senate and disrupting that. I mean, it's amazing how they're always cherry picking certain things that fit their narrative, but they never talk about the things that don't fit their narrative and go against themselves, which obviously why would they do? But I'm going to let her finish here on her nonsense and her ramble, and he'll push back, folks. So I'm showing this her reason. He pushes back and calls her out.
that, our democracy, literally our democracy under attack. And so the president will never shy away when it comes to our democracy, when it comes to the fabric of who we are as a country and what makes this country what it is. And so it was a different moment and a different time. I hear.
Follow up.
I know, but let me.
Sure, go ahead.
When it comes to these types of cases, these criminal, specific cases, we're just not going to comment. I know there's a broad. I get you. I know there's a broader question of what this means, the precedent, and what the president is going to decide or make decisions that he might make, like hypothetical questions. I'm just not going to comment from here on that.
Again, I was asking why you weren't going to comment on there.
I'm hoping that I laid that out for you, and I just laid out why we commented on January 6th, and we're just going to be very mindful. These are ongoing cases.
500 cases involving Americans whose freedom was at risk.
I hear you, but
right?
this is something that all of Americans watch in real time. And people died. People died.
Karine, I don't need a lecture on the fact that people
But you're lecturing me.
But
you're lecturing me.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm asking questions, and what I'm saying is there are millions of people out there watching today. You called January 6th historic. It was absolutely historic, and none of us had ever seen that before. Nobody's seen this before either. There are millions and millions of Americans watching the first time in 250 years a former president be hauled into court and processed for arrest. That means something. That has some effect, potentially, I suspect, on American democracy and on how the rest of the world. The president has talked a lot about how the rest of the world sees the United States in the wake of January 6th. Totally valid. Why isn't there a similar kind of assessment about how the world is watching us now? Good or bad? I'm not making a judgment whichever way. I'm just saying.
And I hear your question. January 6th was a different moment. It just was. It was something that was incredibly devastating. People died on that day and were harmed. And
it's amazing. It's amazing, you guys. Look, in Democrats' mind, and they literally equated to this, they equated January 6th like Pearl Harbor and 9/11. We saw the footage. Tucker Carlson came out with it. They were literally being chauffeured around the Senate. They were being chauffeured around the Capitol, like all the rooms by Capitol Police. But it's a threat to democracy. They were overtaking everything. So, come on. Yes, people died. People were hurt. It was a bad thing that happened. Everybody agrees with that. But this is a huge moment as well. You are literally setting a precedent for everything going forward in our country, going after prior presidents for literally giving a porn star $130,000 of hush money. You literally had Alvin Bragg shut down parts of New York City, bring in like thousands of police officers. He spent like $200 million for one day, a few hours of a guy that gave $130,000 of hush money to a porn star. $200 million of taxpayer dollars versus $130,000 of a dude's private owned money. And it's one day, a few hours. You think that this is probably going to happen again?
it was just something that we saw visually, that we reacted to, and many people were scared in that moment. And as the president was taking office, as the next president of the United States, a president that ran on bringing the country together, on protecting our democracy,
that's working out
it was something
so
that
well
it was
right now.
important to speak to at that moment. And also, we know that Americans still very much care about this. When it comes to a criminal investigation like this, that is ongoing, we are just not going to comment. We're not going to interfere. We're not going to politically interfere from here. And we've been consistent. We've been very consistent. I know you're bringing up January 6th. I just laid out why we believe that was very different. But we're just going to be consistent on not commenting on any criminal ongoing investigation.
We're going to be consistent, but yet we're not going to be consistent. She acts like there's no cameras. Like, you really can't make this up. It is so insane what is happening right now with this country. And I mean, there is a divide. But remember, Barack Obama was supposed to be the hope. Barack Obama was supposed to sit there and stitch together the social fabric. And then that didn't happen, right? Then you had Donald Trump come in and try to figure everything out here, basically trying to fix the mess that, Barack Obama caused. And then you have Trump fix up a lot of stuff. We're all doing great. China releases the pandemic on everybody. Nothing's still happened to them, by the way. Joe Biden gets put in office, and it's the same narrative. Oh, I'm the new hope. I'm going to bring everything back together. I'm going to unify the country, which he's done zero of. And now this is all happening. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.